Welcome to the Healthy Perspective Podcast with your host, chiropractor, entrepreneur, mentor, and author, Dr. Chris Boman. He'll break down and extract the secret sauce behind his own success and the success of some of the top leaders in every category and from around the world. Get ready for your weekly mental adjustment because shift is going to happen.
Welcome to another episode of the Healthy Perspective Podcast. Today is going to be special. You've heard me interview some of my best friends. You've heard me interviewing people in my life that are more than just an entrepreneur or social media influencer or things like that. And it's been really cool to give my friends, people that are doing big things that, other people may not know about, a platform. And today is no different. We are giving my wife, Miss Jessica, a platform. And this is really cool because if you would have asked her to be on a podcast or to speak in front of people, even though this isn't live 3 or 4 years ago, she would have said no way and backed away. And now she's the one reminding me, we need to get it done. We need to do it. And so, and thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We found a time when the kids are quiet that we were able to get this done. So that's always a plus, huh?
It's a miracle.
It is a miracle. So it's pretty cool kind of looking back on our story. I have always been entrepreneurial. I've always been someone that has had a big vision, pursuing something bigger than myself, doing things that are, not necessarily detail oriented. When I run into details, I kind of take care of it and think of my feet then. Versus you've always been a little bit more, let me make sure the details are excellent and things are done. Not necessarily a perfectionist, in a bad way, but you like to make sure that every little thing is taken care of and thought of. And we had this experience when I was opening up my very first room in my very first office. We weren't even married yet. I think we were engaged, right? Mm-hmm. And I had these like four tiered big stickers of like
wall decals.
Yeah, wall decals of like pine trees or something like that. And if there's ever a test for marriage, it was putting up these stickers for sure, because they required an enormous amount of tedious stripping away of the back of it and putting it on the thing without it ripping, and even ripping, having to put it back on. But then you had to line up each one. Mm-hmm. And for me, I would have got to a point where I said, all right, one tree is good enough. Like, we had
to take down like thousands of tiny little pieces.
Yes. Yeah. Like little gaps in the plastic and in the sticker and whatnot. And it was a pretty frustrating experience at times, but I think looking back on it, that was a pretty big definer of our marriage, where it's like, I can lean on you to help me push through things that aren't necessarily enjoyable or things that seem like they're accomplishing or changing the world. And you can kind of count on me for, it's like, this is the purpose of why we're doing this. Like this is going to add to the experience that people, come in, even though no one's going to see you actually help me put this up. I think maybe we did post a picture on Facebook or something, but every single person that I ever saw there benefited from you being there, Mm-hmm. And I think that really highlights the person that I feel like never really gets interviewed, probably because they never want to get interviewed, but the support role. When you listen to podcasts, when you watch movies and all this stuff, the camera is always focused on, or the voice recorder is always focused on a couple different people. You have the main stars of the show, and you never really hear from the people behind the scenes. And I don't think that's because they're not valuable. I think it's because most people think I need to be like that leader in order to be valuable. And so that everybody just, that's what everybody's drawn to. And so today we're going to kind of, in the name of perspective, refocus those thoughts and stigmas and interview someone who truly is a support role. And even saying, I feel like support role, most people might have a negative connotation. Like if they're in a support role, they're backup quarterback because they're not good enough to be the number one. You know what I mean? Instead of thinking a support role is like your coach. Like nowhere nothing happens without the coach. The coach is the one organizing it all, making everything happen. Yet the QB is getting paid the big money, or, something like that. And so we had an experience, early on in my chiropractic career too, where I took her to a chiropractic seminar, and there's a guy on stage. I talk about this in my book. That said, if money and time weren't an option, like what would you want? Like, what would you do? What things would, just start writing. And he gave us like 30 seconds. And I probably had 10 or 15 things on my list. Still not great. I think I would be able to do more now than I was then. But then I looked over at Jess's after we finished, and there's like one thing on there. It's like a house and no debt, or, something like that. And that was a serious, like, problem for us,
you got scared.
For a couple of months. I mean, I'm like, man, how do I live with somebody that doesn't know how to dream? And I think there's multiple different contributors to this. I mean, both of her parents were kind of 9 to 5, workers. Not that that's a bad thing, but never really exposed to too much entrepreneurship, right? Grew up in a faith that was not experiencing the full expression of the Holy Spirit, living a more legalistic expression of Christianity. And so there's not that seeing what isn't real physically, what isn't possible, naturally. What somebody that has a spiritual mind and spiritual eyes sees is opportunity when something isn't there. Like that's the opportunity for the Spirit to work supernaturally. And I had grown up honestly very similar. Both my parents were 9 to 5 jobs. We grew up and we pretty much going to the same, same school, but same background of more legalistic, rule following, morally good people. I had the opportunity to, go off to school and get exposed to some new views and new people. And I think that's ultimately what led to the Spirit being able to work on my heart and show me, this abundant mindset and mindset of success rather than, I don't know, just stability or just security, So Jess, why don't you, I've been talking this whole time. I said I was supposed to interview you as a supporter and here I am talking, but I think that just providing context is helpful for people where we were to where we are now, so why don't you kind of take it from where I started the conversation of like, you write this thing down, and here's your husband who we hadn't been married very long, afraid of like, man, what are we going to do? Like, I'm not going to stop once we have $100,000 or $200,000, because it wasn't about money for me. It was about continual movement.
Mm-hmm.
How did that make you feel, and how did you process through that? And how has the growth process, been? Has it been an intentional thing? Has it just been kind of like, yeah, go ahead.
I think my first reaction to your reaction to what I wrote down on my little paper was kind of like, why is this such a big deal to you? And more so like, okay, if this is a big deal to you, I love you. Like, I need to explore why this is a big deal to you. And if I need to change my mindset in any way, because we are one flesh,
Mm-hmm.
We're in a marriage. In order for us to continually grow more knitted together, we need to explore this. And I think we had several conversations about it over the last few years too, where it's just like, for me, in the way that I was raised and my kind of understanding of God was that if you were dreaming about something bigger than what you had, it meant that you were discontented. And discontentment is a no-no. Like you don't do that. If you have God, you really have everything that you need of it, more than you could ever want. And so the process of learning that dreaming doesn't mean discontentment. Dreaming doesn't mean sin or, like going off the beaten path or, being irresponsible. It means that you are looking for bigger and greater impact on the world for a good reason, and not just to kind of pile up riches for yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big turning point, and you said, I want to make more money so that I can give more, and I was like, okay, is that just an excuse to get more money for ourselves? Or is it like, are we truly going to do that? And I think, me too, like with our finances and with, our stuff, it's like, I typically want to give everything away, like if someone has a need, especially someone that we love, like, it's like, yes, let's give them, let's fulfill that if we can, whereas, the rest of the world may be more like, we got to make sure that we're okay first, instead of giving. I mean, people tend to give out of their excess, but what does it mean to give when you're called to give, despite not necessarily having a lot of excess, so I think that kind of goes back into your abundance mindset too, is that we have an abundant God. And if I'm going to give abundantly, even if I don't really have that much at the time, I'm going to trust that God's going to make up the difference for that.
Yeah, that's good. And, it's been so fun for me watching this growth, and, you look at our lives now, we started a year ago, not liking the way California was running its state politically, and wondering if we would be able to raise our kids the way that we wanted to, without vaccines, without being taught the things in school. And it's not necessarily being exposed to other thought processes, what I'm against, but them having to mark yes or no as this is the right answer, rather than, being able to reason, this is what I believe, I can see those viewpoints, I respect you, but having to say, I'll fail this class unless I say this is right. And so we were looking at other states to move to, just for that freedom. And we knew that if we did move, we weren't going to move to another tract home. We wanted land. We wanted to be more self-sustainable. We wanted our kids to grow up on a farm. We wanted our kids to know what it means to raise your own food. We wanted their hands in the garden to be as healthy as possible. And that kind of fell through. And so we decided, well, let's start small, and so we got a couple of pigs, anticipating that they would be our bacon, a year from when we got them. And if we didn't like it, then great. And if not, then we could, go from there. And here we are. You can follow our homestead page, First Fruits Homestead, on Instagram. And we have 6 pigs now. We have a couple of cows, and we had 2 turkeys until yesterday, and bunch of chickens, and we're selling some eggs, and we got people buying some pork. And so why don't you kind of walk us through and a big garden without, with hundreds of tomatoes. Finally, we knew it would come, but why don't you walk me through, how do you think you would have approached this, a couple of years ago? Well, I guess you did, we tried gardening in this, areas that we had, soil, and it didn't work out as well. The heat got it, the squirrels got it, the mice got it. It seemed like we got like one thing per year, one strawberry or one raspberry or one tomato that was good. You know what I mean? Kind of walk me
tons of work into it and hardly got anything out of it.
Right. Yeah. So kind of walk me through, that growth mindset, what attributed to being a support role, still being able to dream and having the desire to accomplish things, and not just like, I'll accomplish whatever Chris accomplished, but in a sense, run your own, love your own life that you're running too.
Well, the funny thing about that is, going back to when I first started getting interested in growing our own food, I think it was like a New Year's Eve, and we were writing vision boards, and we had these big audacious dreams on these vision boards, and I was like, yeah, this is going to take 50 years for it to happen. And one of the things on there was having a small farm, and I drew a picture of a cow
Mm-hmm.
next to the small farm. And I never actually, at that point, I don't think I wanted cows. But here we are 2 years later, and we've got a small farm and cows. And so looking back on the vision board is like, oh my gosh, like I wrote this down and it happened. How the heck did that happen? And honestly, the farm was kind of, I think, probably my dream more so than yours in the beginning. But when we first started out, like we got the pigs, and the plan was to do a big garden because I love gardening, and I just have all these aspirations of making a beautiful space that can grow food at the same time. And then I got pregnant, and I was like, how am I going to build a massive garden when I'm nauseous and tired and all
in
these,
the heat of summer,
all these things? And the funny thing is that Chris became that support role in building the garden. Like I prayed about it, and I was like, Lord, we want to do this, but I don't know how it's going to get done. And I have never seen Chris more motivated to do hard labor before. Like, he's a wonderful chiropractor, can adjust people all day long, but we've never really done any big hard labor projects before. And he just dove in and really kind of made my dreams come true, honestly. And so there's kind of like this role reversal where, yes, I've been here to support you through your chiropractic journey and through your entrepreneurship. And then through the farm, it was like you became the support role in that, when I didn't necessarily have the energy to put into it at the time and stuff. And so that was another cool kind of just like realization that it's good to dream this, like God wants to work in tandem with our dreams, and not just like say, no, that's not spiritual enough, or that's not holy enough, or whatever. And yeah, I think he loves us. He sees us as his kids and wants to fulfill the desires of our hearts. And he made that happen through you, giving you the motivation to kind of spearhead that project. And now we have this huge, beautiful garden, and we've been able to give produce to my grandparents and neighbors and friends, and have beautiful flowers. And it's just been something that's brought so much joy and fulfillment, and being able to give, but also being able to receive as well.
Yeah. And it's cool to see, that picture of marriage too. And this isn't like a boast fest. Like, we're not trying to say like, oh, we did everything perfect, because there's plenty of things along that road, that were hard and were frustrating. And, we could probably talk longer about those things than we can about the things that worked out the way we planned them to. But it is cool, for someone that has lived more of that support role to then feel supported, because then you can feel the impact of the work that you do, that it isn't thankless, that it isn't worthless, that if that support role isn't there, ultimately the job's not going to get done. And so, I would challenge those people out there that are wanting to be the entrepreneur, and you hire virtual assistants, or you have a receptionist, or those sort of people that help you get your work done. I know when I was growing up in chiropractic school, my all the best chiropractors that I was involved with would say your front desk are the most important people on your team. Like, you can be the best chiropractor in the world, but if you have a terrible front desk staff, no one's going to come see you. And I took that to heart, and I've always compensated well and treated well, and tried to enable my front desk staff to feel like they're and have the opportunity to live their dreams as well. I don't charge them for chiropractic care. They get free gym memberships. I try to do whatever I can to make them feel loved and appreciated, and that they're special, that their work counts and it matters, because without them, no one feels an adjustment from me, and therefore no one gets healing. And so if you do have those support roles, like make sure that you either get the opportunity to be a support to them in their dreams and their aspirations to give you a better experience of what it's like to be in a support role. But I think that really encourages synergistic, I don't know, energy, as well, by me, building these, pallet, raised beds and, doing this and that and the other thing. Like it was really cool to watch the vision that Jess created, probably with 0 to 5% confidence in it actually happening, because she never really created a vision board before happen, and now dreaming even bigger things and doing even bigger things, doing what she didn't think she can do with one kid maybe, and now going to be doing it with three. It's really cool to watch growth happen, and ultimately it gives me the opportunity to do more and to be more and to go more, because if she's living the life of her dreams, she doesn't necessarily need my attention 24/7 to be reaffirmed. Like I can go on a weekend seminar, I can fly out to visit a friend, or like something like that, and I have that freedom because Jess knows that like my vision is to encourage and help grow other people, and she knows that that's what's important. It's not about I need to take this vacation, or the world's about me becoming famous, or whatever. It really is about pouring into other people, and you've lived that, and I've lived that, and you're giving away, like you give yourself so freely to me. And so when you want to give away a whole batch of tomatoes, or you want to give away what did we say, like the milk, or like something like that, and I'm like, no, we got to charge for our time, or whatever. Like I am okay not drawing firm lines there, or hard lines there, because I know that your ultimate heart is to give and to serve, and that people see Jesus through everything that we do. And the stuff that we don't make money on, if we're called to give it, then that means either we're building up treasures in heaven, which are eternal, which we take with us, which are ultimately more valuable than anything that we can have here. But the Lord's also is going to pay us back. The milk that we give away, I don't know what, but maybe the process, is we get time with our kids that they love, doing something, or we get people that want to come, watch, or, who knows what will come out of future things. But that's what having the mindset of abundance is all about. Not wondering about what you're going to lose, but how what you're giving is kind of providing and encouraging and enabling a bigger future for not just one person, but collectively, as a family or as a community. Even this cul-de-sac that's or housing tract that's right around us, like most of them probably never had the opportunity to visit a farm or know where their meat came from. And even though we're not doing it now, maybe this is going to be a community effort. Who knows? But
I think it's really about like sharing out of the overflow of the joy that we experience here on the farm too. I feel like that's what it is. It's like I find so much satisfaction and joy in growing these tomatoes, or milking this cow, or spending time with these animals, that it's like you need to experience this. Like I want to give it to you because it's amazing, and it brings me so much joy. And so it's kind of like just a fountain of overflow. Like come and taste and see what this is like. It's different. It's better.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Well, you have anything else to add? Anything else on your heart that you wanted to share?
I think one last thing is, like, for me, being in the support role of an entrepreneur, and being able to kind of support you in your endeavors and in your life and your business and stuff. I feel like most entrepreneurs need to find someone that truly loves them and that pursues their heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we've been so blessed in our marriage, because there's this this aspect of, I want you to succeed, yes, not just for me and my family so that we can be provided for, but so that you can live your life to the fullest. And being a person that's able to ask the hard questions and kind of point the entrepreneur's compass in the direction that you guys actually want to go, and kind of having to refocus or, shave off what's not necessary so that you can focus on what you really want to do. I feel like if an entrepreneur can find a support role like that, they can do anything. Because having that extra set of eyes on your life by someone who actually really cares about you is invaluable, I feel like.
At the very, very end of my book, I think it's in the last chapter, I talk about this concept of sandpaper moments, where it's like, no one really likes sanding. It's messy. You get it everywhere. You're sneezing it out for 3 days, even if you use an electric one, it's still not a process that nobody likes. Only the person that loves the product is actually going to go sand, and honestly, if the wood had feelings, it wouldn't really like it either. Like, it's an annoying process where you're not cutting anything off and you're shaving away things that maybe you thought was important. I liked that sharp thing there, it protected me, or I liked that divot there, or this and that and the other thing. Like, so many, I know I'm personifying wood, but if someone was going to take sandpaper to our in a sense, the unfinished raw but cut, you can see what it might become. Who's gonna provide those sandpaper moments for you, where they can, in a sense, rub you in the wrong way but for the right purpose. Like a sandpaper, you rub along the grain against the splinters and whatnot to smooth it out, so that way everybody else that touches that table, or I don't know what else he built, like a bedside table or even crib, or something like that, so other people not only just don't get hurt, it's not a scarcity type of thing, but other people get to enjoy that piece to the fullest. If the crib wasn't sanded down, there's no way I'm going to put a baby in it, but because of the wood is smooth, because somebody took the time to love not only that piece of wood, but then what that wood can become and can represent. There's that book that we read to our kids every year. I guess your parents read to our kids every year, the Christmas one, where it's like the trees wanted to become something great, Oh,
the three trees.
The three trees, yeah. And one of them wanted to, hold a king, and it ended up becoming a manger, and where Jesus was born in it. And I love that representation, because everybody thinks that a support role doesn't necessarily have vision. They're just kind of like buckling on, carabining to somebody else's vision and following along, or being that, I don't know, that in curling, they're buffing out the ice, before to let the person, go where they want to go. But ultimately, to be a support role, you have to latch on to another person's vision, sure. But in a sense, you have to see that vision almost more clearly, almost a little bit further down, for those times when the person pursuing that vision might go left or right, or might go a direction, or do things that might not actually bring it to its fullest potential,
Well, and that's kind of a scary place to be in too, because like for us, I've seen the left and the right turns, and it's kind of scary to kind of approach and say, I don't want to rain on your dreams, but I don't think this is congruent with your core values. And kind of being that, like, that North Star, but trying to do it gently so I don't like shoot you down, or, whatever. It's kind of a scary role to be in sometimes. And that's why it has to be done with love and gentleness and patience, really, too.
Yeah. Because that person, especially if you're sandpapering by hand, you're going to get a splinter. There's going to be times where it's like, man, all I'm doing is trying to help and make this thing more beautiful, and I still get splinters, and there's been times where she's tried to do that, and I've been offended and, said things that, offended her back. And I'm sure she's asked the question, like, why don't I just let him do whatever he wants? He can fall on his face and I'll say, I told you so, but it requires so much love and attention and desire for the outcome. You see the faces, in the brains and the ears that are gonna listen to this. You're able to visualize things that I might not be able to visualize where I'm doing this. Yeah. So that my, people hear about my book, and people are continuing to get extra value after reading my book or connecting with me. But you're seeing each individual person. I'm looking into the forest of people, but you see each and every individual leaf in the branch that connects that leaf, and the importance of the roots and the soil underneath there, and going back to a gardening example, and it's not that one is better than the other. It requires both, because if I'm constantly looking at, like, if you read my book and you just read the very beginning in our story of going from pretty much having $300 in our bank account, being ready just to give it up, become a 9 to 5, and not have that entrepreneurial responsibility, but just security, settling for security. I was just looking at the forest, and Jess is like, well, I mean, look up how many people you've helped so far. Like, let's zoom in on what matters, like, were you present with the people that were there that day? And so that's super helpful to have a vision and see the forest, but at the same time have somebody looking after the trees and the leaves and remind you every once in a while, like, hey, stop. Like, it's okay to not have this 15-year vision in your eyes. It's okay to be present in the moment. And we always need to be present in the moment, but sometimes letting go of the vision and being present will remind you of that vision all over again, and you can be refreshed instead of burnt out.
Well, and maybe this is a little bit countercultural too, but I think it's very important for the support role, especially like if you're in a marriage situation, to give your spouse the freedom to fail, and which is kind of, it's a very, very scary thing, but at the same time, like for us, I've told Chris this a few times in the last few weeks. It's like, I hope I don't, when I'm talking about these big audacious dreams that I have, I hope that doesn't make you feel pressured to make them happen because you're the breadwinner of our family. It's like, ultimately, it's like, I know that those dreams, if they're gonna come true, are from the Lord, and it's not really up to you, like, and so he very much has the freedom to, as much as he doesn't want to fail, of course, but he has the freedom to do that because all of my eggs aren't in his basket, that sounds bad, but like, my sole dependence isn't on whether or not he succeeds or fails. And so it gives him the freedom to dream bigger and not feel so much pressure, because as much as I trust him and I love him, like, my ultimate trust is in an abundant God, and so I think even for entrepreneurs, giving themselves the freedom to fail, it's like, our society looks down on failure so much, but how else do we learn? Our society is based on a school system where it's like, you pass or fail, you get an A, B, or C, or D, or F, and instead of, no, like, failing's the best experience for you. And so if you can get past the fear of failure, the world is completely open to you. You can go out and do anything, essentially.
It's true. It's true. It's good. Well, thanks for joining me, hon. This is fun. I know people are going to love it. And it's probably one of many. We'll probably do more. Maybe we'll do one on our failures.
Yeah, we should.
People can see those. Yeah, we'll have to break that up in like 3 episodes probably. But 1 episode for success, 3 for failure, right? Yeah, and if you have a need, if you're struggling in your marriage, or struggling with relationships, or maybe grew up in a more legalistic Christian faith, or if any of this stuff was new, or you want to reach out and chat, feel free. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you guys. Our goal is to be ministers of the Most High God, and encourage and love and support as many people as we can. So I hope this is helpful for you. We'll talk to you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Healthy Perspective Podcast. To connect with Dr. Boman, follow him on Instagram at Dr. Chris Boman. Until next time, make shift happen.